We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
You know we've been working, yeah, we've been working, yeah, we've been. Last night I took my pen and my pencil and took a trip out the universe. It's sweeter than cinnamon.
Hey, welcome back to the break room. And most importantly, welcome back to the Grounded Bag podcast. This is a segment connected to the Grounded Bag podcast, as well as this is a moment to breathe, a moment to be, and also a moment to just have ourselves be ourselves because we're literally at a point where we're literally trying to navigate and see exactly where we fit and where we're trying to actually, where we're trying to actually pivot to. But the break room gives us a moment to breathe. So if you have not already, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment to the Rude with Aisha YouTube channel, which is me. I'm Aisha. I'm your host. And also, please don't forget to share, like, share, and comment, and subscribe and share so that way the YouTube multiverse knows that you find value in this channel. And most importantly speaking, don't forget to keep on the lookout for the Grounded Bag podcast audios because we're going to be sharing audios of the actual podcast that's going to be on Spotify and all audio streaming platforms because the goal is to make sure that we are reaching all of you, but also speaking to the time. And now more than ever, we really need to be present and focused because that is the ultimate goal. So now, let's get into it because today we're going to be talking about Zatima and Sistas. Now, keep this in mind. I've watched Zatima, I've watched Sistas. I've practically seen every single season of Sistas, even though it's been a train wreck. Um, and it's been a train that I can't get off of. You know that moment when you're on a train and it's like, but I can't look away. I can't look away. Is it gonna crash? Is it gonna get to the destination? I can't look away. That's what Sisters has been like. And it's been emotionally taxing because I know what the story should be. And I'm like, why didn't you get another writer for this? And in some episodes, someone else wrote it. And then I'm like, thank God, that's why it sounds better. But then in some elements, I'm like, this makes Black women look so stupid. So, and needy and weak and why? Because not all of us are like that, but also I see the duality because we have moments as human beings where we have those moments where we do operate in weakness and we do operate in vulnerability, but not the kind that makes us feel safe, but the kind that makes us adapt to our environment and makes us maladaptive, unfortunately. So we're going to talk about that. But also, Sisters looks different now. And if we're being specific, the overall landscape of Sisters, I'm a screenshot. I'm gonna show you what it looks like now. This is what it looks like. Once upon a time, Sisters used to look like this. It used to look like this. It had the je ne sais quoi, it had the element of sisters, but it also had the element of community, even if many of their messes were some messes, but it gave you an element. Now it's this. Let me give a better screen. Oh, these things are small. Okay, let me go on a better screen. There you go. Who are these two women? They replaced Ebony Obsidian and Novi Brown. I'm not saying that Novi Brown, her acting was always superb, but she had a je ne sais quoi that you loved her for her vulnerability, but she did her own hair. That's why her hair never looked busted. You loved her for her uniqueness. And Ebony Obsidian, she gave you East African princess queen. She gave you that regal. She gave you the regality. My problem is For sisters, instead of navigating us through season 9 of Sabrina, and instead of navigating us through the emotional pitfalls, they're essentially navigating us straight into replacements. Because episode season 10 really ushered that in. Because essentially speaking, you have Andy, you also have the other sisters, but it ultimately gave you an element of like what is going on. And because even with Karen and her storyline with Aaron and Zach and the baby and the twins, that I appreciated DeVal Ellis's acting because he had real experiences with his wife and the health scare that she faced after giving birth to the last baby. So he pulled from that vulnerability. So that he did right, hands down. What I didn't like is the element of, okay, the characters are ushering into other segments. Let's move on, but let's put these women on the poster. Sabrina was not even all the way out of this segment yet, and you're already adding two new faces on the poster. Give us the illusion that the sisters are still the sisters. Let them two walk on out before you add these two on here. Because when these two are added, they're beautiful brown women, they're beautiful brown sisters. But we fell in love with this cast for 9 whole seasons. You can't take us off the breast milk and put us on formula when we got accustomed to the boob. You can't take us off of ribs and put us on tofu when we want that meat. You can't take us off gold and put us on silver. I'm not saying that those other cast members are silver, but I'm just saying that you have to know as a director and show creator how to usher in a new cast without breaking the mold. Because adding these two additional sisters, it made these three look like the Three Stooges, personally. I have nothing against Mignon and I have nothing against Crystal Renee, but KJ, she's always in the mix, personally. Personally, her character was always in the mix. Fatima brought the power and hoodness. Mignon brought the realness and always in some, if you catch it, Danny's character was always in some stuff. I didn't like how they always had her in an abusive relationship, or she was fighting for her life, Harpo, or she was essentially trying to adversify every single season. Danny, she couldn't catch a break. Andy, she knew Gary was married. That's one. Robin, she knew Robin was for the streets. She's always putting herself in situations. That's the difference. And Danny falls into it. Andy puts herself into it, and she's an educated woman with a law degree. So you would think that she would be smarter than that. I shall digress. For Novi Brown's character, she accomplished at the bank, doing her thing. These are all educated black women here. Accomplished at the bank, doing her thing. Karen has her own business, has her own brick and mortar, but with a traveling man named Zach. When he moved on to this one, she got a little froggy. She got a little jealous. Hence why she had two baby daddies. If you haven't seen the show, you might want to catch up. But I say all of this to say the story was built on a strong foundation, but it didn't end well. Keep in mind, Sisters is not completely done. They haven't canceled the show. But a lot of the fans were wondering who are these women? Harpo, who is this woman? Harpo, Annie, are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? That's where we were looking at here. And if I look at Zatima, by the way, season 5 of Zatima is currently in production. But for Zatima, why the fans were so pushed to watch Zatima and they felt so compelled was because how Tyler Perry set them up when they first got initiated. They appreciated Fatima's directness. She was quick to snap Zach in place because he needed that structure. Because if you watch Zatima, which I loved, it gave us a history into who Zach was as far as his mom being in foster care, being in the streets, struggling, trying to be a better man than what his father was. And his father also did make an appearance in the show, like Zach's father, as in the acting, like the character Zach, not his biological. And I love that it gave us an element of vulnerability because that is the core standing in a relationship is vulnerability. There's always those elements. But ultimately, what I did appreciate is that it gave us an opportunity to see Zach more than just, you know, that boy that you just on the side and not a husband material because they're engaged on the show, soon to be married, and they're having a baby. From what I'm seeing and what I was able to witness, they're having a girl. So essentially speaking, what I do appreciate is that we got a chance to see them develop and they stayed consistent with that. That's where Tyler Perry fell short with Sisters. He developed it and now he undeveloped it by adding these two. I know that the two actresses, Ebony and Novi, have their own ideas and they want to go on and be their own women and act in bigger productions because Ebony Obsidian, she was in If Beale Street Could Talk, and then she's in this audio show with Kerry Washington and some other big names. And Novi is, working on her acting career, her career on a whole. So I have nothing against them adding in new girls, but they needed to give us time. Season 11 could have been this new fresh face, but don't do promotion and promote and have to explain why the other two girls aren't there. Like this is Destiny's Child, and Latoya and Latavia was kicked out of the group. If you catch my comparison there. So why is Zatima, I would say this is Zatima versus Sisters, is because Zatima gave us an opportunity to love them and stay in love with them and be okay if there are changes because season 5 is their latest season. It's currently in production. So it hasn't officially kicked off where the baby is born and then they're going to be, eventually getting married. And then Zach has a child that he's trying to get custody of, but that child may not be his, Billie Jean. So there is a lot of duplixities there, duplicities. But what I would say is that this shows Zatima is more developed and he stuck to the core because Krista Renee is a powerhouse of an actress, even if she may not be everyone's cup of tea, but not everyone is going to be like a Kerry Washington or a Viola Davis. Everyone has to be themselves. And before there was a Viola Davis or a Kerry Washington, we had a Hattie McDaniels. So instead of saying she's trying to be Viola, she's trying to be Carrie, she's Crystal. Keep It Cute, Sweetie is an amazing, Keep It Positive, Sweetie is an amazing podcast. Go check it out. It's on YouTube and streaming platforms. But ultimately speaking, Zatima and Sisters, if I'm comparing apples and oranges, they're amazing shows. But Zatima is gonna take the Oscar for me because they stayed consistent with the story. Even though there were some moments where I'm like, oh, we could have left this out. We could have left this all the way out. I didn't feel lost in the sauce. Outer state right there. I didn't feel lost in the sauce. I felt like I could at least land and land safely. So I say all of this to say, Tyler Perry, what's up, man? If you're listening, we need to make sure that if you're going to continue with Sisters, that you develop these ladies, these new ladies, so well that if you ever do a spinoff with them, it makes sense. Because Crystal Renee, she's doing some things. She doesn't have to be on Sisters anymore at this point. Zatima, she's doing that. KJ Smith, she needs this check. Keep her. Mignon, develop her into something in another show by herself because she can clearly hold her own. Put her in movies because she can hold her own on a big level. I have nothing against KJ, but there's something there. There's something that's missing. And I think that's for her to decide what that missing is. And sometimes that can just be she's always been a background actress, and she said that she's always been that background actress, but she wants to be in front, the lead. But I think that Tyler Perry needs to develop her a little bit more and better, because we don't need her to be the she's ombre, but sometimes she wears blonde. I mean, we don't need her to be the black dumb blonde. We need her to be intelligent, up to her job as a lawyer, versus someone who is letting these men run her over like she's roadkill. So these two, yes, the jury's still out on the new kids. They're amazing. I'm hoping that their characters get to develop even more on a bigger level. But I just didn't like the rollout. You can't go from this till you're hugged up like sisters to family pictures of y'all three here and the other half sisters are on top. That doesn't work. Mm-mm. So let me know your thoughts. Do you believe that Sisters should continue the way that it is, or do you think that it should have been rolled out a little bit better? And Zatima, haha, are you looking forward to Zatima season 5? And also, what are your thoughts about Zatima? Could it change? Could more context and info be added to it, or do you think that it needs to be developed a little bit more as Zatima has the baby and they get married? Where do you see them going? So I say all of this to say, is this the breakout room, the break room? And we are having a whole conversation here. So please let me know what you think. If you hear screaming, it's probably my dog stealing something from my sister again. Ha 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 ha. Get it, Samson, get it. So so what I would say is please go ahead and take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you don't miss any video that's published. Stay safe, stay blessed, and God bless you. And we have more to talk about. We have more because we've been working. Cue the music. We've been working. Take care.
Doing all day.
Girl, nothing. Sitting up here watching TV.
Ah, where your sorry husband at?
What?
Where your sorry husband at?